Good afternoon. My name is Edward Sanshin Oberholtzer. I'm the resident priest here at the Joseph Priestley Zen Sangha in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. We're an affiliate of Empty Moon Zen. In that koan from the collection known as The Gateless Gate, where Nanchuan has his famous run-in with a cat, there comes a moment where Zhao Zhou, in response to Nanchuan relating his story, places a sandal on top of his head and walks out. Now, I'm sure I wasn't the only one to wonder what on earth was going on, and to conclude that koans were set in a world so radically alien to my own that I couldn't hope to understand them. In fact, I have since read that placing a sandal on top of your head was a sign of mourning in Tang Dynasty China. And no, you don't have to know exactly just what Zhao Zhou was doing to see your way into that koan. Don't let the occasional strangeness dissuade you. But this raises the question of how we can understand just what is being pointed to in all those sutras, koans, and chants. Now, of course, the same question might be raised for those of us raised in the Judeo-Christian West. How can we hope to understand the religion of herdsmen born in the arid Middle East some 2,500 years ago? How, for that matter, am I to understand my fellow human beings, men and women I encounter daily? How do we avoid the trap of solipsism? People have made a close study of texts, of the meaning we can draw from them for a long time. Here in the West, the Reformation gave rise to the field of hermeneutics, the study of textual interpretation, so named after Hermes, the messenger of the gods. As ordinary men and women sought to understand the Bible in their own terms without the intervention of priests. And principles that were applied to textual understanding came to be applied to understanding in the 20th century, to understanding one another. So, just as we can intuit meaning in another person, we can see into a text, to the person behind it, to his or her intent, past the barriers of time, culture, and language. Always with the caveat that it is just an interpretation. There's so many ways of conveying that information. Chinese ideograms, standing as they do for single words or concepts, can, as you come to see them, both as interesting and beautiful representations of ideas, dimly recognizable, but they can also be just as easily used to write in English, at least to a certain extent. Pictures, however abstract, standing in for concepts, and not simply ideograms. I have a collection of letters my grandfather wrote to me when I was a child with words substituted for pictures. A rebus, a simpler form of the same general idea. And in the UU church I attend each Sunday, we always sing the hymn Spirit of Life and accompany it with American Sign Language hand signs, a kind of choreographed singing taught to the congregation by a member who was an ASL interpreter so long ago that members who learned the signs as children are now passing them on to their own children. The RGL director was in a Zoom meeting of other RGL directors a short while ago when the hymn was sung, and learned that our ASL rendition has a kind of poetic license, in that it is less an exact word-for-word rendition than a kind of shorthand. It is nonetheless a lovely embodiment of the meaning of the hymn, poetic if not precise. These ASL signs carry with them a sort of embodied concept, a living version of those Chinese ideograms. And this can be an invitation to join this dance, this choreography of the body, of ideas, and bring it to our own practice. I can't claim any expertise in American Sign Language, but here's an opportunity to find a way to embody the Dharma, a drawing together of the heart, the physical heart, and the mind, our practice embodied. I like to think, and this is my interpretation going out on a limb, that the word Shin, part of my own Dharma name, Sanshin, which is often translated as heart-mind, combines the physical, this physical heart, this beating muscle in my chest, with the spiritual, the mind. For they are one thing as much as they are two. So today, let's start with the 3 pure precepts. What could be a more perfect way to embody Zen and to screw up? So they go, do good. Avoid evil. Save all beings. Not so difficult. Now, there appear to be a number of different signs for these phrases, and if anyone hearing or seeing these knows a more articulate way to present them, as God knows I can be inarticulate, please let me know. If not, I'm content to stumble on. This use of our bodies to convey the teachings has a long and venerable history, particularly in Buddhism. We're all familiar with the position of hands in Zazen. The left hand held in the right with the thumbs touching lightly. The universal mudra, we call it here in Zen practice. Vajrayana Buddhism has a plethora of such mudras or hand signs. One of my favorite mystery novels, Skull Mantra, is set in Tibet and has a scene in a darkened prison barracks housing Tibetan monks. An elderly monk, charged with the care of younger monks, gives a Dharma talk by the light of a butter lamp. He does it through a long series of hand gestures, mudras, embodying the Dharma, conveying the teachings of the Buddha through his own body. And each Tuesday evening, before I sit with my fellow Sangha members out in California, I sit here in Lewisburg with a Soto priest, Diane Benage, who had trained for years in the Nisoto, the women's training temple in Japan. Soto Zen places a great emphasis on ritual as an embodied practice. And Diane had, in her early days as a young woman, trained in classical ballet. Perhaps the perfect introduction to Soto Zen. I remember once asking a teacher, as I struggled with that early koan collection we call miscellaneous, if it would have helped if I had been trained as a mime. She simply laughed. I'm still not so sure that it wouldn't have been ideal. That or as a dancer. But as it is, you can ask my wife about my 2 left feet. So, we sit here on our cushions, each of us, however imperfect, however flawed, living, breathing embodiments, examples of the perfection of the Dharma, each of us, Buddhas, each standing or sitting in for the Sangha. The choreography of the halt and the lame manifests as all we need to know of the teachings. Just sit upright, or as near to upright as you can manage. As Hakuin said, this very body is the Buddha. Thank you.